From Rule 62 Studios in Bossier City, Louisiana, this is The Grouch and the Brainstorm. Season 2, Episode 3. Or Episode
Rolling.
35 or something like that. Yeah, we're rolling. Rolling right along, man.
Yes, sir.
Man, we had a good episode, our last episode. I really liked that.
I did too.
Talked about progress, not perfection. Talked about the Second Amendment or Commandment or whatever they're called. Second Tradition.
It is Sunday, so we can talk about the commandments too.
Talked about the second tradition. What we didn't do is explain why we have traditions, and we'll talk about that in just a second. So before we get into all that, I'm Mike, and I am still in recovery and have been since June 21st of 2011. I'm joined with Jill.
Hey, guys.
Jill, do you have a birthday coming up next week?
I do,
Month?
February 15th.
What?
14 years.
Yes.
Wow.
Dang.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know.
Dang, Jill.
I know.
I didn't
It's
even
hard to
know
believe
that,
how
dude.
fast that passed.
I agree.
And for those of y'all that
How long
asked,
did you say?
Jill is
14 years?
Jill's only
Really?
21 years
Why
old.
did-
She got sober when she was 7. So
I've only had 14 years in one time in my life, and that was the first 14 years.
I had one of those too.
I've only had 7 years once. So.
Yeah, well, that's true. And I'm here with Thomas.
I'm Thomas.
Thomas D. from the Shreveport Bossier area. And, of course, Matt
What's up?
is here with us today. And the traditions, I was reading off the first back into this season, the first episode, I read off Tradition 1. This last episode, I read off Tradition 2, and then this one I'll read off Tradition 3, and we'll talk about it a little bit. We might talk about it up front. But, I guess a lot of folks don't understand what the traditions are, even how they're basically derived, and this is not my opinion. This is from me doing a lot of research. But they're basically derived from a series of mistakes we made as AA as a whole. Yeah, I hear it. As AA as a whole, that could have costed us our organization. So along the way, the founders of this thing put together some things we call traditions because we don't like rules, and these traditions have allowed us to maintain the program. The fellowship, not the program, but the fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous for going on, 90 years somewhere, 80 something years. And so they say, I've heard the 12 concepts are to keep us from, or the 12 steps are to keep us from committing homicide. The 12 traditions are to keep us from committing suicide. And the 12 concepts are to keep us from committing genocide.
That's lovely.
That's a lot of
sides.
A lot of
that's-
sides. I'll have a side.
Usually my
there.
sides are like mashed potatoes or whatever.
So I want to talk about the tradition first this time, and then we're going to get on to our topic. Our topic is going to be fear. That is the topic. So are any of y'all scared of that topic?
No.
Yeah.
I face my fears these days.
Yes,
I'm fearless today.
Oh, my God. No fear.
as he is shirtless. No, just
It's snowing.
No, you don't want to see me shirtless.
So, but Tradition 3, and the reason I want to talk about this first, because it means a lot to me. And I heard it a billion times and never even paid attention before I ever got into these rooms. But the only requirement for AA membership is a desire to stop drinking. That's it. It's the only requirement, Matt. Mm-hmm. That's it. There's no other requirement. When you go to a closed meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous, y'all ever been to a closed meeting?
Yes.
I've only been to the one that I have in Texas. But here, I've never been to one. But in Texas, they are a normal thing. And I went to, they have them. But it's just, you want to stay in this meeting, you got to have an honest desire to stay sober, right? So the only requirement for AA membership is a desire to stop drinking. So if your sponsor said, I want you to listen to this podcast, kid, and you're straight, just straight out of the bottle, brand new, still don't know what to do about this AA thing, wondering if you should sign up or become a member, wondering what to do, what are they going to ask of you? This really is our tradition. This was brought on by people that were alive way before the old timers that we have now. And it is that all you have to do is have a desire to be sober, and you are a member. Just say you're a member, and you're a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. There's no papers to sign, no forms to fill out, nobody to impress, no anything, right? You are a member. And the more you get into the 12 steps of recovery, the more you feel like a member, right? But I think it's just something that I had to get out there because
Yeah.
it was so important. I always wanted to know, do I really want to join? Yeah, do I go through the necessary steps? You know, do I talk to that guy at the table, let him know I want to be a member? You know, you don't have to do any of that shit. You just show up and say I'm a member.
Yeah.
No membership fee, no dues, nothing. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think people are shocked too that your vote counts as much as the guy with 40 years. You know, it's just one vote.
I've sat in business meetings before where we were having a group conscience, which the last tradition we talked about that, the group conscience. And something came up on the table. There's, somebody says, "Hey, I got to throw this idea out there," and they throw it out there and they vote on it, right? And sometimes it requires a show of hands. Most of the time it don't. But I've had newcomers come and say, "Hey, look, I've got an idea." And it wasn't a far-fetched idea. Mm-hmm. Like, hey, we need to listen to the newcomer here. He's the one we're here for. Mm-hmm. If their idea is like we need to pass out money or have strippers at the meetings or something, no. But
What?
yeah, no.
Why?
Well,
I like both those
no,
ideas.
you're right. There is no tradition on there, Thomas.
Well, I think what's important to mention about that, it is the desire to stop drinking. It does not say, I have stopped drinking. I mean, we hope that you would, but that does mean that there may be and probably is people that are not there yet. It's about the desire.
Has anybody here not been in a meeting where there was an active wet drunk in that meeting?
One of my sponsees, he loved
Yeah.
bringing vodka into the meeting in his
Yeah.
water bottles. Yeah.
Man,
No.
Yeah. You know who, yeah.
I've been in several. I've had.
oh, you've never been in one with an active wet drunk?
Oh no, I have. I've seen people have
mean, just
seizures.
anybody. Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
someone may have died in a meeting. I was in Colorado. It was pretty tragic.
I've never seen anybody die in a meeting.
That would be creepy.
Yeah,
I don't know if I could go back to that.
it's coming. There's got to be. It's going to happen.
Yeah, I've seen people vomiting. Like
I've said the
people are
only thing
sick.
I've never done at work is delivered a baby. But it's coming.
See, I wish we could have skipped tradition 3 and went to tradition 4 because for me, tradition 3 is actually kind of a sensitive subject if you want to get technical about it with me. Mm-hmm. And that's because the short form says a desire to stop drinking. The long form, I think, would be more of the closed meeting where it says that our membership ought to include all who suffer from alcoholism. Because not everybody who comes in and has a desire to stop drinking is an alcoholic.
Right.
Some people are just heavy drinkers, and that comes back to the big book though, where it tells us the different types of drinkers. Are you an alcoholic drinker? Are you a heavy drinker? Because there are different types of drinkers in open meetings, especially.
Absolutely.
And I did not put an X in that word today.
X what?
Especially. X especially.
X special. So,
But yeah, so tradition 3 for me is it to me it's a sensitive subject just because I'm more of a long form guy. I like the way it was written originally. And I have the choice to go to just closed meetings. There's just not a lot of them.
Right.
well, I just have. You're right. There's not a lot of them. In Texas, they're everywhere. That's basically all they have. But here in Shreveport, they are Bossier.
A handful.
So, but anyway, Matt, you got anything on tradition 3?
Yeah, it's kind of the simplicity of it. I think, and Bill and Bob were onto something with, all this stuff as it came about. And I know it came up because of issues and problems as the program developed. But, I think it's funny, people are amazed that they come in and they go, well, who do I talk to? Who's in charge here? Talking about the tradition before that. And it's like, well, whoever's standing here can help do whatever. There's nobody in charge. And I think the newcomer kind of goes, oh, well, it allows a newcomer to just have an important role there. if they're willing to do that. As far as service, as far as anything at that club and that meeting, and I think that's great. I think it gives people, that's how I stayed sober, was service work. And, if they'd have said, hey, you have to have 5 years of sobriety before you're allowed to speak in a meeting, well, I probably wouldn't be in there, and you just kind of learn to jump in with.
Didn't want to speak in your meeting anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And on a side note, don't you hate when you're just kind of sitting in a meeting, somebody goes, how about you? And you go, I got nothing. You just can't even form a thought to share. But that happens to me quite often. But
I think about what kind of pizza I was going to order after this meeting.
yeah, exactly.
How dare you interrupt my pizza?
Yeah. So, but I think that's the great part about it is it lets new people come in, and I've had them all, come up and who do I need to ask about, and the fresh ideas of it too. Times have changed from the 30s till now, and they're going to continue to change, and things are going to continue to be, evolve as sobriety and recovery evolves, and it's a program of attraction, and when these newcomers come in, and also on top of that, younger people, they have different things that they may be interested in or want to see happen, and that's great. That's great. I mean, whatever it takes to get to carry the message, that's what we want to do. So
Thomas brought up Tradition 3 long form. I want to read it right quick just so the listeners know. Our membership ought to include all who suffer from alcoholism. Hence, we may refuse none who wish to recover, nor ought AA membership ever depend upon money or conformity. Any 2 or 3 alcoholics gathered together for sobriety may call themselves an AA group, provided that as a group they have no other affiliation. Yeah, I mean, it's just so the listeners understand. They're what I'm reading whenever I talk about this is the short form.
Yeah,
I may save this website though, just so that for future episodes I can read the long form and the short form, because the short form, obviously, like in that specific tradition, basically it's completely worded different in the long form as it is up on the walls and on the posters and all that stuff. And I never even knew that in the long form, I was today old when I found out that the long form has all that stuff about 2 or 3 people in it. I didn't know that.
Hey, same here.
I didn't.
I was like, long form? Say what?
But we talked about progress, not perfection in the last episode.
And you ask why I changed sponsors.
Yeah. No, I don't blame you, buddy.
No,
I don't
I'm just
blame you.
kidding.
This one's used and abused. So we are talking about fear today. Today's going to be our topic of fear, and I'm going to tell you, this is where you get a lot of you get some big book quoters. I got like I need them for the dryer. You get some big book quoting people that just come out of the blue when you talk about fear in a meeting. The evil and corrosive thread, and page blah 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 says blah blah blah. None of that shit did me any good when I have some real live fear.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Acceptance probably is the answer long term, but when I'm waiting 2 weeks for the doctor to tell me if I have something major going on, I don't really, as a newcomer. And I'm speaking as someone that walks in the rooms and hears some of the stuff that we talk about, how fears and evil and corroding thread, and how, and the big book does tell us about certain things we can do when we're in fear, right? There's no doubt. I'm going to pull them up here in a minute when everybody else starts sharing. But there is no doubt that is the case. But what bothers me is the fact that I have fear still. I'm 12 years sober and not getting any younger, but I still have fear. Sometimes just fear of the unknown. A lot of times we don't talk about. Matter of fact, I see people cringe sometimes when a newcomer comes in and talks about anxiety or depression. And yes, some of that stuff does go away whenever we sober up, right? I get that. For me, all of that stuff went away whenever I sobered up. So, but that's for me. That doesn't mean somebody's going to walk in the room and I'm going to pick them up as a sponsor and say, oh, don't worry about your depression. It'll stop. I have no idea if their depression is going to stop. That might be a medical disorder or something, right? Well, so for fear, though, the actual fear, you hear also a lot of, false events appearing real and face.
Fuck everything and run.
Yeah, well, face everything and run. Face and run. How you do that, I don't know. It's kind of, it's a very dangerous task. Face it and run. Run backwards. But, but real life fear, guys, what do you do? What do you do?
I think it just depends. I mean, I think there's many different forms of fear. I think there's just a average fear with me. There is, other fears such as panic disorder kind of fears. And that was on my list of fears when I got sober. 'Cause I'd had panic attacks for, about 20 years, and that was a mental disorder. But the thing is, I haven't had a panic attack since I got sober. And so to me, that was kind of like a mental thing. And then there's little ones and there's bigger ones. And there's some that have stayed and stuck around. There's some that have just, I prayed about it and it was gone forever. But what do I do if I'm in fear? You better bet I'm praying big time. And I'm also, I'm going to break it down. Okay. So what am I scared of? And I want to look at why. I want to look at what is my payout here? What am I threatened by? And when I say threatened by, I'm looking at me. And I break that down. If I need help, I'm going to, get my sponsor involved in it. But I can't afford to be in fear. I was in fight or flight, like I said, for those 20 years. I didn't know if I was coming or going. And there was a lot of Xanax involved. And I remember, there's been points or times in recovery where I was like, what if I have another one? I won't be able to make it. And that scared me. It doesn't scare me now because it's just been so long without it. But I think as humans, we have fears. But if I'm in fear, that means I'm not in trust and I'm not trusting my higher power. And this is a spiritual program. And for me to stay spiritually fit is important because I will resort to fear.
Yeah. He's talking about the cat.
I'm not laughing at you.
Billy, that's our mascot.
Don't step on anything.
But I can let fear ruin my day. It will take over me and I will feed into it. And and then it just turns into something way bigger. And what I've learned in these years that I've been sober is that I just can't. I do get anxiety over things. And I think that's just part of me. But then again, I still pray about it and I'm going to break it down and see what's going on, because I think that's been pretty cool, is learning how to take my irrational thoughts and put some rationalization behind it and really think and break everything down to where it makes sense. I am prone to flee and to evade those kind of feelings, as my past definitely, what's the word?
Shows.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
What was the word? What was-
Shows, demonstrates.
Demonstrates. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like I said, there's many things. There's fear of financial. There's fear of relationships. There's fears of all kinds of things. Retirement, health. But if I stay in those fears, I'm just stripping myself of happiness and contentment and serenity. Like they say, if you're in fear, you are thinking about the future, worried about the future. And, with depression, it's ruminating about the past. So I've got to stay out of the future and really focus on the now. everything right now is perfect. I'm alive. I'm not having anxiety. I feel great. And that's when I tend to get out of that and start, get in the future or the past. That's where I strip myself of peace.
And that fear inventory in step 4 really does help.
Oh, that's the coolest thing I've ever learned.
Yeah.
I could never look at things and be like, oh yeah, it was me the whole time. And what I can do, like I said, it's amazing that I can, instead of blaming my fear on someone else or blaming it on a situation or blaming it on something, I can actually say, well, what's going on with me?
Yeah. It always goes back to that, doesn't it?
I know.
I know.
How did I not know that?
Yeah.
When I think about that, it's like, was I that idiotic?
But a lot of times with the fear, for me, fear it's directly in relation to my relationship with my higher power. And I know a lot of people come in AA and they start out very simply, and it's, pray in the morning, pray in the evening. And some people still, that's what they do. And that's awesome. But some of us are sicker than others, y'all. And everything I do, I have to do overboard. And so constant prayer and meditation, even if it's just for a few minutes, that if I'm not doing that, and 2 days is a bad deal for me. It can go off the rails really quickly. And just went through a couple of days like that. And after talking with some folks and doing the things I'm supposed to do, I do feel better. Mm-hmm. Because I don't control the situation. And that's what fear for me is always. I don't have control of this situation.
The lack of control, yeah.
How do I control it? My mind's beating me to death, and there is no way to control it. So it just becomes this never-ending bullcrap, painful cycle. And
it's just like the cycle of insanity.
Yeah, and God goes, "Did you need me now, or are you going to keep doing this?" And I go, "Oops." And then I have awesome people that I'm friends with and spend time with, and they go, "So you're God now, you're going to take it over from here." And I go, and I just take my medicine and, and it's what it always boils down to for me. It's like my mind's not right because I'm not realizing, number one, who and what I am, what I have control over, what I don't. I'm not going back to those simple things. And when I do that, the fear will dissipate. It will not just completely erase. Sometimes it takes a little working through things, but I get back on the track I need to be. And I just don't get a break from the spiritual part. I don't do, I pray every Sunday at dinner. I can't do that because I'll be off to the races.
Oh, absolutely.
It's constant for me. But yeah, and fear can also though, and we talked about lessons, I'm learning a lesson right now and as we speak in these last few days, and fear can also let you know where you are, and you can go, okay, I'm still doing XYZ. Why is this going on? And, again, just being around good people and people that program people and very spiritual people. I have to be around that kind of stuff. I just do.
Yeah.
And I can't really do much without it. So
I think it's also important to note that fear is part of our ancestral DNA. It is innate. It is something that protects us. It puts us into that fight or flight mode to either to boogie or to fight. And we all have it. It's something that no one is free of.
So if you're a newcomer, you're thinking, when is the fear going to go away?
Oh, gosh.
It's not.
You just learn to deal with it.
A lot of stuff like that.
You learn to face it. You learn how to work through it.
My fear of flying has greatly went away since I've been in Alcoholics
Mine
Anonymous.
has too.
Yeah, I used to have the real major fear of flying.
Yes.
I mean, it's like I talked about this with a guy the other day. It's like a baby with a crappy diaper, dude. They're just sitting in it. Like at recovery, you just have to sit in that crappy diaper, and I mean, I hate to say that, but I used to not want to sit in that dirty diaper. I would take things to go, it's not a dirty diaper. No, yeah, it is. And so as raw as that is, I have to sit, and sometimes it has to just hurt. And I just, there ain't no way around it. It is what it is. And you know, that's where I've learned and where I've grown is dealing with the issues. And yeah, I don't think fear ever goes away, but the plugging away at it and almost the bullheadedness, if you will, or stubbornness to go, yeah, this sucks. I'm pissed off, you know, I'm whatever I am at the moment, but I'm going to continue with what I was doing. And I've just come out of those things, you know, God has just brought me through stuff. And I look back and go, okay. Wasn't fun in the moment. A lot better now. So what about you, Thomas?
I'm fearless.
I knew that.
Yeah,
I knew that.
okay.
Thomas was going to skip this episode.
Yeah, I'm completely fearless, you know, with the exception of financial insecurity.
You must have had that bumper sticker in the '90s that said "No fear," right?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. What are you talking about? I still have it.
Bumper sticker, T-shirt. Still.
what was that car we were talking about in a couple of episodes ago? What was that car? Oh, come on.
Taurus.
No. Mel and Jenny.
Yeah.
What car was
The
that?
bumper fell off.
But what was the car?
Was it like a
Taurus or
Mercury
something.
Sable
Yeah,
or something?
Sable. It was a Sable with a
Dude,
no
there's been
fear
more-
bumper sticker.
More bad
Well, at
stuff
least mine's a
than Sable.
Volkswagen, you know.
Yeah.
Bug. 78 model.
But no, I mean, even in sobriety, I've made poor financial decisions and that's what's cool though, is that goes back to, you know, I have a greater faith in my higher power today, even though still inside that financial security kind of eats my ass up. I can sit back and say, okay, I know God's going to take care of me.
Yeah.
I just know he is. And I know this because only since I've been sober have I noticed. I'm not going to say that's the only time he's taken care of me, because he damn sure saved me a lot. But only since I've been sober have I been able to sit back and realize I have not gone without exactly what I need.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't necessarily have to, and I still suck with money. Even though I know I got this bill due or that bill due, I see this and I'm going to go buy that shit because they might not have it next week, you know? And that's part of where my financial situation comes from, is me blowing money on crap I know I don't need instead of blowing money on the stuff that I need, you know? So I actually cause my own fear, like Matt was saying. A lot of my fears I've got today are self-inflicted fears, you know? And I was actually just looking at this thing from Bill W. in 1962 in the Grapevine, where I lost the spot, but if you want to go back and look at old grapevines, you know, he's got one in 1962, This Matter of Fear. And it's actually a really good article that he wrote on fear in the Grapevine. And, you know, it's a matter of how do I deal with my fears today, as opposed to allowing them to affect me in negative ways.
Yeah.
You know, and my fears still do for a moment affect me in negative ways, but that's where I've got sponsors or a sponsor. I've got sponsees that I talk to. I've got other people in the rooms that I talk to. If I see somebody that's going through the same stuff that I'm going through at that moment, that's who I'm going to talk to. Mm-hmm. You know, because my sponsor might not have gone through this. Hey, you know, what do you think about this? Well, I'm not real sure because I've never come across that situation, but Joe has, or Mike has, or what's your name?
Matt
has.
Fearless.
Jamie over here. Jill. No, I'm just. I had to mess with y'all. But you know, so there's always somebody in this program that I can talk to.
Yeah.
And that's what I do. I rely on that a lot. You know, and that's a pretty cool thing to have today. And that was one of my fears coming in. You know, was talking to people about my shit.
Yeah.
This is mine. Yeah. I created it. I'm going to deal with it because that's how I was raised.
And you don't want to look like the person that's always got a problem, or the
Yeah.
person that's always need. You know what I mean? You don't
Yeah.
want to look like that. As a newcomer, I'm bothering them, or they don't want to hear this. They've heard it before, you know. And
not even as a newcomer, even coming up on 5 years, I still do the same thing. I will wallow in that crap until it's time to not.
You guys have got about Jill's damn near got 2/3 of the sobriety I do. But you guys, I've come across this in the last few years. Going to meetings, you got sponsees, you share in meetings, and it's, the great things that have happened, and then that's where it is 90% of the time. But do you guys ever get in there and just have a shitty day? Like, it's shitty day, darkness.
Well, hell yeah.
And they go, would you like to share, Jill? And you go, no, I wouldn't, because nobody needs to hear. Like, I've been in that situation and not shared when I could have been like, well, here's what happened today, and then this shit show. And everybody goes, what happened to that dude? Like,
I think it's
I've felt that way.
incredibly important that I share when that happens. I remember
I've been there a couple times when Jill shared after some of that.
Yeah. I remember in early recovery, everybody talks so much about how great everything is. And I remember thinking someone was wrong with me for years because I was struggling so hard, and no one talked about their bad times.
The real shit.
The real shit. And I had so many women in recovery like, thank you. I felt really alone. If I'm struggling with something, I want to admit it, because I think people need to see that, because you're going to struggle and you have days that just suck.
Can you imagine being 2 years recovered and all you hear about is the good stuff that goes on, and you're like, what the hell's wrong with me?
That's what I did.
Well, you haven't learned how to make shit up yet. That's what's wrong with you.
Well, and that kept me in self-pity. I was like, I can't be helped, that kind of shit. And I share about it.
Yeah, and I don't know. I've had that pop in my head a few times, and it's like, do they really want to hear? Because we could be here the whole hour, I just wondered if y'all had run into that and what you.
Yeah, I think it's important for the newcomers to see that that there is progress, not perfection, when it comes to everything as far as recovery, because all of us can take a step back and get into fear. Be selfish, be dishonest, and all of that. But it's like, what you going to do about it? And that's when I get into, I've learned this is what I do, and this is how you do it. And that's why I'm here at this meeting. That's why I'm sharing about it.
Yeah. And, and you do see, that's what's pretty cool too, is I go back to, I don't always see the growth with me or necessarily feel like things are happening, but you see people that come in and then they're just like, and there was a lady the other day, we just talked about this, and she's about to have 3 years, I think. And the first 2 years, it was like face down on the table crying every time she opened her mouth. And she shared, I told her, I said, you are the epitome of Alcoholics Anonymous, because you are what the program is for. You cried. You couldn't speak a word without crying for 2 years, but you kept coming in here. And now you don't cry, and you're laughing, and you're having a good time, and life's finally starting to happen, and that's awesome, But sometimes I just sit there, and it's it's just one of those random, horrible horror movie days that I'm like, they just don't need to hear this,
But I think they do.
Yeah, and I know, and that's when I'm supposed to share, and I go, I'm just no. We'll think about it a day, and I may share tomorrow.
Right.
That's what I end up doing.
Mulling it over, yeah.
Kind of clean it up a little bit, but some of it, yeah. But I don't know.
Well, I guess, and seeing that, I guess that's where I'm a little different. I don't know if that would make me the Grouch or the Brainstorm, but I'm the guy that to me, an AA meeting isn't a therapy session. I don't want to hear about your grandkids just ruining your entire day. I want to hear what you did about it.
Right.
So I don't want to hear about your shit today. Talk to me about it tomorrow when you have the solution.
Right.
Because like the crap that I'm going through right now, I'm not going to sit here and blurt it all out in a meeting. But in a month or 2 months or however long my higher power decides it's going to take me to get over this junk and get through it, I can sit down logically and say, well, this is what I was struggling with, and this is what I had to do, and give my complete faith to my higher power, and he carried me through it. but I'm not going to get in there and bitch and whine about my day and how crappy my life is right now. Because
I agree. Like some stuff, go talk to your sponsor.
Yeah.
But follow that up with some strength and hope.
Don't come in here and blurt your fourth step out in the meeting.
Yeah.
But there again, that's where I'm different. I want to hear the solutions to the problems that you're having. I don't want to hear about your problems. I want to hear about the solutions to them.
And I think it goes both ways too, because early in sobriety, I was impressed with, like Jill's talking about, and somebody that, had worked the program, and they have their stuff together, and they're, and I would hear them struggle a little bit, and I'm like, oh, okay, so there's some hope there. But at the same time, I don't think that people, that have been in the program a while, you have some of those that every single day, I got cut off in traffic again. And I was going to just shoot the whole street up. And I'm going, you're 12 years into recovery.
Yeah,
like, that
well,
pisses you off that
shut your
bad?
mouth.
Yeah.
Well, see,
Every day.
And
you
it's
know?
funny that you said that, because somebody mentioned in a meeting a couple weeks back, their statement was, if you say quality over quantity, then you're not sober. No, I don't agree with that, because if I see somebody that's 5 years sober, or even like right now, my current sponsor that I'm using only has a month more than me. But you know what? He has what I want, right? This guy with 12 years is coming in here bitching about wanting to shoot people in traffic because they got cut off. He don't have what I want.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it is quality over quantity. Because if you're 12 and 15 years sober and that freaking miserable, why would I want you as a sponsor when I got somebody with 5 years sober that has a hell of a lot better quality sobriety than you got?
And that's kind of what brings up why I brought that up, because it's always about the newcomer. And so I don't want to, I'm like you, I will wait a day or two or a week, and I'll go back and share on it. When I've sponsored and I've talked to sponsor, I've prayed, I've kind of figured out, I may not still feel great about it, but I put it into context and here's what's happening. Yeah. Then I'm like you on that. Because I don't want somebody sitting in a meeting that's been out a week and go, listen to this idiot, like, what the hell? I'm not going to waste my another 4 years up in here and just wind up like that, And I had that image in my head of coming into AA, and it would just be a bunch of old men bitching about their old ladies told them they couldn't drink anymore. So they just got together and bitched about it.
I could see
what I
that.
thought. Yeah.
Wow.
That was my image of Alcoholics Anonymous.
Yeah.
So, my first meeting I went to in 1995 at the Koala Club, that's what I thought. I thought you just went there to bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, see, and I'm right there with you. Back in the 90s, we were told to sit down, shut up, and don't say a word, because if we had less than 6 months to a year sobriety, we didn't know anything anyway. So what do we have to share with them?
Or how about learn? I mean, like, there's a lot to learn from the newcomer.
There is. So I don't agree with it 100%, but I knew when I came in this time, I didn't learn nothing in the 90s. So I had nothing to share in 2019. I didn't. So I didn't say nothing in a meeting except my name and what I was and what I identified as. And
Alcoholic.
and and thank you for calling me, because I didn't have any experience to share with them. The only experience I had was I was there today, and sure, that might have helped somebody who only had a week. But me saying, hey, I'm Thomas, I'm an alcoholic, 4/16/19, and this guy with a week, this guy's got 2 months, or this guy's got 5 months or 6 months, and he was able to at least say that. That's the only experience I had.
Yeah.
But any real experience from working steps or anything like that, I can't share on something I haven't done.
I agree.
That's true.
And isn't the program cool, though, that, like we said, we talked about two different ways of it, and Jill's kind of like, I'm just going to get it off my chest, and that's great, and you can do that. And because of the collective group of people from all over, all kind of ways of life and races and ages and all that stuff, that will help some people. And then the way Thomas and I are talking about it, other people hear that, and it takes a group effort. And I think God puts that there at that time where if Jill walks in and goes, this has been horrible, and blurts a bunch of stuff out, there's probably somebody sitting out there that needed to hear that.
Right.
No, I mean, and I always do follow it up with a solution, but Yeah. I don't want the newcomer to be disillusioned.
But I'm very proud of those people that I know my situation, but I know that people have, and this lady that I was talking to the other day, man, she had it very tough. Like, I don't know that I could have gotten through what she did early on. And I mean, it was very impressive to just watch her just keep clawing at it. And, you know, didn't give a shit what nobody thought about it. And we all listened to her. And what I like is we all just kept listening to her. Nobody told her, hey, could you knock that off? You know, or it was none of that. And I just think that's so cool about Alcoholics Anonymous, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Well, they say that sharing about something gives it less power, you know, and I think that's also important because we're not all in the same exact place. You know, they may not have a solution yet, but it may have, you know, someone may be like, okay, I'm going to talk to them after
It gets
the
it out of
meeting.
your head.
Absolutely, it does.
Well, and the good thing is it doesn't matter whether I like hearing it or don't like hearing it in meetings. What I do like is they've stopped that junk. Well, not completely, but a lot of meetings have stopped the junk where they cut that person off, especially a newcomer that's in there doing that. Because I've seen where newcomers be, you know, talking about something that's just eating their ass, and they'll shut them down. And then that newcomer gets up and leaves. Well, the problem is nobody gets up and follows that newcomer.
And we just lost a newcomer.
And yeah, now this guy who was in there dumping their heart out, I actually seen it early in sobriety, and that's why I don't go
I've
to
seen
birthday
it.
meetings.
And
I've
you
seen it a
never
lot.
see them again.
And that's why I don't go to birthday meetings is because, and again, this is my opinion, but a lot of the times those birthday meetings turn into an ego rubbing, you know, and I've
agree.
literally seen a guy in there that was dumping his heart out, hadn't been to a meeting in 6 months, explaining what was going on in his life. And then the next person that came up to share immediately started stroking the birthday boy's ego. That guy got up and left, and nobody followed him out of the rooms. And I didn't because I was only like 4 or 5 months sober.
Yeah, that will piss me off.
You know, and I'd said something to my sponsor about it, and he's like, well, "Why don't you go?" I said, "Because what the fuck?" I'm
You know what,
I'm like, I'm 4 months sober. What am I supposed to do? He's
and
like,
I mean,
stop
you know,
the guy.
Birthday meetings are cool, I think, in a way that, you know, if they're done correctly, that newcomers need to see that, and they need to see that we celebrate things and this is achievable and attainable, but at the same time, our primary purpose is that newcomer. So that's the important part. It's not the birthday.
We got off fear, didn't we?
I had a
Yeah.
Kind of.
I had a newcomer show up at my number 11, my first birthday back at the Koala Club from New Orleans, and a newcomer showed up, and basically we had I shifted the topic to step one. Let's talk about step one. But in that meeting, being, you know, you gotta get back on it every single share. Make sure we talk about step one. Never
Yeah.
seen the person since, but that doesn't mean that they're not back in the room somewhere.
Right.
Yeah.
They may be somewhere, but no, it all does kind of go around fear. I think a lot of times people, the way they share in a meeting is based on fear. I think the reason why we have a lot of relapses are based on fear. I think the reason people get up and walk out is based on fear. I think that it really is, and I'm not to quote the book too much, but it's the evil and corroding thread. And it's always the fear of what's going to happen, what's not going to happen. You know, it's always the fear of the unknown is the one that gets me.
Yeah.
I just don't know. And these aren't normal fears. Like, as I sit here today after we record this podcast, I have to drive back to Dallas, and it's snowing in Dallas right now. And I don't know what the weather's doing. I should have some kind of healthy fear, right?
I was going to mention that.
But that's not what I'm not fear. That isn't what I
Respect.
fear. What I fear, I guess, are the things that are going to knock my ego back a bit or hurt me emotionally. Those are what the things that I really fear. As far as the physical harm, I don't have it.
yeah.
I don't have that fear. Now I do sometimes, you know. I mean,
And I used to have the fear of going back out, and now I just think it's a healthy respect of, you know, if I do this, it's not a fear of it anymore, but it's.
But
I just realize what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, there may be a little drop of it.
thing about fear, like, it can be used as a motivation. And
Yeah, a lot of dictators have done that.
no. I meant like, because it may cause you to face that fear. I mean, that's what's happened to me in recovery. I have faced so many fears because, like, what I used to do, I was scared of succeeding and scared of failure.
Oh, that's the worst
So guess
case.
what I did? Nothing.
That's the worst that you can do is absolutely nothing.
Yes.
Based on fear.
I'm doing that right now or something. I swear to you.
I'm not going to apply for that job because I'm scared I won't get it.
Yeah.
There's 100% chance you will
already
get it if you're not going to apply for that job.
Yeah.
Or, I'm scared to buy this, or I'm scared to marry this person because I mean, there's 100% chance it's not going to be a successful marriage if you don't have one.
Yeah.
Why'd you have to bring that shit up?
Yeah.
I didn't know that was something you're dealing
Every
with.
time
there,
I'm
Tom.
around, you call me out. Yeah.
any of that stuff though, anything time we don't make a decision based on fear. I mean, I get a decision based on analysis. Hey, I've studied this part, or this is what I've seen in this relationship, and therefore I'm not going to make a decision to move further, or this is what I've seen based even something as simple as starting a podcast. I mean, just if somebody's out there and they want to start a podcast, but they're scared nobody's going to listen. Hell, nobody may not listen to this one.
But we're having fun.
We're having a damn
It's
good
keeping
time.
us over today.
Yes, it has.
I like sitting around talking on a mic, talking about subjects, and this has really helped me since moving to Texas, because I go to a noon meeting, and a lot of times I can't get out of the store in time to go to the noon meeting. So a guy that used to go 7 days a week has now been cut back to about 3. And to me, this is the more I talk about recovery and the more I stay here, the more I stay in a recovery lifestyle. Right?
We have 2 or more.
Yep.
Yeah, it said it in the last tradition.
Well,
that's right.
And that's like, I had a fear coming on because I've recorded myself like on videos and stuff, and I hate the way my voice sounds.
Everybody does that.
But dude, these microphones in my ears right now, man, I don't know if you guys like some kind of weird filter on there, but I sound freaking great.
Well, yeah, it's not a weird filter. It's the microphone. This is high quality microphones.
So my phone sucks.
And well, I mean, can you get Apple Podcast on there?
No, but I can that iMac you gave me.
No. This is actually up under the table. There's a lot of stuff going on that you can't see.
I know. That's what my
Don't go looking right now, Thomas.
I gotta go.
No, stay up here.
I normally don't wear pants to the podcast, but no, there's some stuff up under the table that allows for a better quality of audio to come through. And,
Yeah.
What is his name? Dallas helped me out with knowing what equipment to buy, and we used to use a big interface that took like 18 microphones and simplified it down, and ultimately we ended up with this setup, which does sound a lot better. So it's not your voice, it's the quality of whatever's recording your voice. And I remember when I was a child, we would have the tape recorders and you would hit play and record at the same time. You know what I'm saying? And we would do our own radio stations. Me and this other kid would have our own radio stations, and we would, we never actually played music unless he brought his over and we could put them together and play music, but we'd have a radio station. And I remember exactly what he said. I'd listen to myself. I don't sound like that.
Yeah.
I don't sound like that. And now I listen back to these podcasts, though, especially when I'm editing them, because each and every one, not each and every one, about half of them I have to re-listen to over again in order to edit stuff out that shouldn't have been in there. And my voice still sounds like I thought it would. But this does, the quality equipment does make a difference.
Mike and Jill, isn't it cool though that all the different people that have come through here, and every single person's like, I don't want to talk into a microphone. I sound weird.
All the
same fear.
Well, Thomas, you
And they
mentioned
sound great.
fear of coming on because
Yeah.
your voice, but a lot of people everybody I think that we've had on has had that they were scared. They did not want to do it, or they did want to do it, but they didn't want to do it. And after they do it, it's just like, wow, this is just what we do. And you're welcome back every week.
Yeah.
You come back every week.
Yeah, don't tell me that. I'll be a regular.
No, we're here. Be a regular. We're here every Sunday.
Well.
Actually, we're here We're here as often as we can get here.
Yes.
Because I would really like to record more, but we record at least once a week, or try to anyway, because that's what our listeners need. But But fear is one of those things that I still have, you still have, or you tell me you still have it, you know,
Yeah.
of a lot of different things. And how we deal with that fear now is a lot different. Because I can say the fear, while intoxicated, okay, there was no fear. And my entire life I grew up in fear. I grew up in fear of my parents. I grew up in fear of God, in fear of the end of the world, fear of my grandparents, fear of financial problems in our home as a child, fear of health with different people. I would have fear of health with my parents, you know, and I would lay in bed and think, what happens if something happens to my dad and he gets this sickness that somebody else's dad may have had? And, you know, my dad's a young man now. He was really young back then, you know, but I would let this drive me to the point of being crippling, like physically sick. I would let these fears just drive me. And, you know, and now I grow up, I'm a grown man. I have real things that happen in life. You know, I have a grandson that has, that is sick right now. I have a son who's trying to deal with that. And, you know, my son tells me I'm going to do whatever it takes to take care of my son. Right. And I tell my son, I'm going to do whatever it takes to take care of mine too. Right. And so you have that, what are we going to end up having to do to make sure that everybody in this situation, well, technically, if we turn our will and our life over to the care of God every day, the fear part, we should just say, hey, look, let's set that to the side and let's get into action. And then what action can we take today to make sure that our part of this thing is done right?
Yeah.
Right? So, you know.
Well, I think it's also important to address fears because it can affect you mentally. It can affect you physically. There's a lot of stuff that goes on physiologically, you know, with your body. If you stay in fear and you're constantly stressed, you know, your body releases more cortisol. You're more prone to illness, high blood pressure, quite a number of things. If you constantly stay in fear.
And I'll throw one that I probably will never lose. And my friend that probably will listen to this already knows it. This is terrifying, crippling. I just can't deal with it. She has a pet snake.
Ew. No.
I'm not fooling with that snake.
No.
I love snakes.
I trust her. Don't trust that snake.
No.
And she's kind of tried to ease it over, and the snake seems like it's chill, but it's still a snake.
Well,
at
what
the
kind
end
of
the
snake
day.
is it?
It's a ball python. It's yellow.
No, they all need to die. I probably just pissed off a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, I had a Burmese python for 10 years. He bit me one time, and it was my own fault.
That's one time too
And-
many.
no, but see, the thing is, it was my own fault because, like, I had for mine.
Because
he
you
was,
picked up a snake.
No, he was 6.5 foot long.
Oh, hell no.
And I had two tanks for him. One was a feeding tank, and one was his regular habitat. And I was getting ready to go on vacation, and I put him in this feeding tank, gave him his 2 rats. He ate. And normally I'd leave him in there for 24 hours.
Gave him his 2 small children to eat.
Yeah, I left him in, and normally I'd leave him in there for 24 hours. Well, because we were getting ready to come back to Shreveport from South Carolina, it wasn't an hour later I reached in the tank. See, he thought another rat was coming in. So he grabbed my finger. I actually got a scar from it.
Yeah.
You know, but as soon as he realized he bit the hand that feeds him, he backed off, and it didn't hurt. It's not like it's I thought it was going to be terrible if I ever got bit by a snake, but it really wasn't that bad. It hurt less than a mouse trap.
Mine is just, and I told my friend, I'm like, she's like, he's real chill. I'm like, yeah, but when I'm running yo-yos on the lake at night and I'm sliding up into trees to hang bait, and I look and there's, a serpent laying on
An asp.
the limb as I slide in there, and then I hear that thump of a nice sized snake dropping in the boat, and then you hear a splash, and that's me cannonballing out the back of the boat. I'll let a snake have a whole boat.
Well, that's a whole nother fear, though. That's the irrational fear.
That's a rational fear. I mean, I have a fear of poisonous snakes. I don't have a fear of a little ball python. That's
No,
like being
matter.
scared of a chihuahua.
But here's the crazy.
They're feisty little shits.
Yeah,
Chihuahua.
Okay, a Yorkie.
I got bit. I got bit on the hind end one time by a chihuahua, and it wouldn't let go. And Well, you can just imagine, me swinging from side to side and that chihuahua going, but I still don't have a fear of chihuahuas to this day.
That's good. That's good.
I didn't give me any post-traumatic disorders,
Well, and that's like me with snakes. I mean, I got bit by a snake, but it never kept me from continuing to handle them.
Some people are there's certain things, rational fears, of course. Some people just have certain fears and some don't. I've never had a fear of spiders. Most people that I know do. I've never had a fear of, I have a massive fear of snakes, all snakes.
Massive.
Some people
Mine
just
too.
don't.
Tornadoes is a huge fear of mine, but I've been in quite a few of them.
I have to. Yeah,
And
I love them.
It's just uncontrolled chaos and fear.
But see, I look at that. I look at tornado coming by, and I'll go stand outside and watch it because
Yeah.
God's going to wipe it out if He's going to wipe it out. I'm not going to go lay in the bathtub or put a mattress over my body and lay in the hall. I will literally. It doesn't. But you
Well,
pull a snake out, I'm out.
It's not the tornado that's going to get you. It's the Volvo that it throws into.
As a result of the tornado.
Or the heifer that's spinning around there like a twister.
That's a good movie. Oh man, Van Halen won.
So what you could do is try to compromise and let the snake sit in the pocket of your hoodie where you don't actually have to touch it
No.
Yeah, no.
for just a minute, and you'll see once it's in there, all it's going to do is coil up and want to be warm.
and wait to eat me when
I
No.
can't even look at them on like in a book or on TV. They just make me just look.
I can do. Look, man, I have very little fears of like outside, like physical things like alligators. None of that. It doesn't bother me. Bears, I would just think it was cool. It wouldn't bother me to walk up and there's a grizzly bear. But
until it's chasing
snake,
your ass.
No, I mean that's why I take Mike with me. I can outrun Mike. He's old. I can outrun him.
Probably can.
The bear will get him. I'm out.
Without a paddle.
Yeah,
Let me
yeah.
take off my shoes.
But a daggum snake,
I run
man,
faster.
Good.
a daggum snake, I can't get over it, and I don't think I ever will, and I'm okay with that.
Well, that's like if people are scared of spiders, don't come to my house because I've got brown recluse, friggin' black widow inside the house. All I do is I move them back outside.
Oh, okay.
If I see one, I pick it up and I put it outside.
That roach I saw at Pat O's that night was about the size of a good tarantula, an adult tarantula. That's what I thought it was, crawling up the wall.
Well, guys, we have come to an end of another great episode. So, y'all got some shout outs? Anybody want to shout out to anybody?
All our peoples. All our
Everybody.
peoples, man. People are awesome.
Thank you
They're
so
awesome.
much for listening.
Well,
Yeah.
I only have 2 friends, so hi to both of y'all.
Well, you want to name them or no?
Well, there's
Nah.
3 of us
Well,
sitting here. So.
I'll name Ken down there in Thibodeau.
Okay, he listens.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, he will be to the last 2 episodes we
Okay.
recorded because I'm a sponsor, and I'll be like, you're listening to these last 2 episodes.
Yeah, there you go. Just force.
I'll be like, you're listening to all my wisdom, whether you like it or not.
That's right. That's right.
As always, we have several countries that listen. We got the Ireland, the United Kingdom, Taiwan, Bulgaria, Australia, Denmark, Saudi Arabia, Canada, and the UAE. And I want to remind everybody that our podcast is now available on Apple Podcasts. So if to understand how that works, it's a little less difficult than the Spotify thing was. You can go to the podcast app on Apple iPhone and just kind of swipe down, and in the search bar or in the search at the bottom of the screen, you can type in the Grouch and the Brainstorm. It'll pull up our podcast, and we just ask that you follow it. And that's an easier way. And if you follow it, though, every time we release an episode, it will definitely pop up on your alerts if you have your alerts on for that, guys. So we do appreciate everyone that listens, and we got to remind you that there is a telephone number if you want to leave a voicemail. It's area code 817 988-2530. That's 817-988-2530. You can leave a voicemail. We'll play it on the air. And we have an email address. It's gandbbossier@gmail.com. That's G&B, @gmail.com. Love to hear from you. Love to read your emails. Love to, just acknowledge our listeners. some of our folks that would listen on a regular basis, we encourage you to call in or at least send an email and give us a little bit more content. If you have a suggestion, which coming up here in the next few episodes, I don't know if it's going to be in the next one or the next one, but we did have a suggestion from someone down in South Louisiana on a topic. I've got to piece that together on how to make an episode out of it, because it's most of the contents are found on one page of the 12 and 12. So I want to kind of do a little studying on that and how we can put together a whole episode and maybe get a topic around what that is, and then we'll discuss that. So Thomas, thanks for coming by.
Thank you.
We look forward to you coming back, and hopefully that'll be soon.
I thought we were supposed to work an honest program.
Sooner rather than later, and that is an honest statement. I didn't just say that. So anyway, from Rule 62 Studios in Bossier City, Louisiana, this has been the Grouch and the Brainstorm.